Our next system is the circulatory system. So when you think of circulation, think of like, oh, we want the air to circulate in this room, or in my pool, I want the water to circulate so it's not sitting stagnant. If I say I'm going to circulate around the room to check on your work, it means I'm going to walk around the room. If I say I have bad circulation, my toes are always cold, it means the blood doesn't circulate properly to my whole body, so my toes are always cold. Okay, so when you think about circulation, I want you thinking about things moving around, and that's exactly what the circulatory system is. It's every part of the body that helps blood move around. So it's the blood, and it's also the vessels that move the blood. So vessels is confusing, but all that means is like veins, and then arteries and capillaries. I know you know what veins are, but arteries and capillaries are just, arteries are veins, but they go the other way. And capillaries are like veins, but they're like the really small ones. All right. And then the heart that helps pump. So anything involved in circulating things around your body in a circle, kind of. Okay, so blood vessels, I think the one blood vessel you know is vein, like you know you have veins in you. So arteries are just like veins, except they just move the blood away from the heart, and veins carry the blood back to the heart. And then capillaries, it'd be like once the blood gets to your hand, then there's going to be like these little branches, these little tiny veins that bring it to like the tips of your fingers. So those would be capillaries. They're just like tiny little things that connect the arteries and the vein. They can be so microscopic, they can be 1 cell thick. So they kind of look like tree roots. They kind of look like that like tree behind me. They're like the little branches that branch out. So when we say blood vessels or vasculature, like that, well, we didn't do it this year. We just are referring to veins, capillaries, arteries, all the little tubes that carry blood around your body. So the human heart is a really important part of circulating blood because it does the pumping. It is a big muscular pump. So every time you hear, if you put your hand in your heart and you hear a bump, 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 that's your heart going squeeze, 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 squeezing, pumping, squeeze, like if you wanted to get some water out, some blood out, you're going to squeeze to send, like squirt that water out, send that blood out. So it's squeezing, it's very muscular. And actually, when someone has a heart attack, some of that muscle tissue is actually dying. We don't want too much of it to die, or the person will die because then their heart can't pump. So every time you hear that lub dub, lub dub, lub dub, that's your blood being pumped to the tip of your toes and back, to the tip of your toes and back, up to the top of your head and back. Lub dub, lub dub. It's your blood being pumped throughout your body. So there are a lot of slides here getting into the specifics of how your heart works, but I just like to remember the atria are up here and the ventricles are down here. And I kind of remember it like the V's are like the bottom and the A's look like the top of the heart. So the ventricles are going to pump blood out. They're the ones that send it out, and the atria are where the blood comes back. And then one of the ventricles is going to send blood just all over your body to where your body needs it. Okay, that says body. So that's sending it to like this ventricle is sending blood to your body. This ventricle is kind of just going to send the blood, those are supposed to be lungs, to your lungs to go get some oxygen. And then the blood actually gets oxygenated there and comes back all full of oxygen to the atria. And then this atria sends it down to this ventricle, sends it to the body. Then the body sends it back and is like, we used all the oxygen in this blood. Could you fill it back up with oxygen? So then the ventricle sends the blood to the lungs to fill up on oxygen. Lungs send it back and say, you're good. We filled that blood with oxygen. The atria receives it, sends it back to this ventricle, sends it to the body to give everybody oxygen. Body sends it back to the heart. Heart sends it back to the lungs. Lungs send it back to the heart and to the body, and so on and so on. So your blood just keeps going from your heart to collect oxygen from your lungs and then send it throughout your body. Also, when it goes to the lungs, it's also getting rid of the CO2 that it collected along the way as you go and you exhale. So your blood, even if you don't know all the different parts, if you basically understand that your heart heart's over here. Your heart sends blood to the lungs to pick up oxygen, get rid of CO2, then sends it back. Then your heart pumps the blood all through your body. Then your heart sends it to the lungs to pick up oxygen, get rid of CO2, brings it back to the heart, and then it pumps it all through the body to give away O2 and collect CO2. And it just keeps doing this to the lungs, to the body, to the lungs, to the body, over and over and over. Lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. So you just have these two systems. One is the pulmonary system. Pulmonary refers to lungs. So one system just sends blood, heart, lungs, heart, lungs, heart, lungs, heart, lungs, and the other is called the systemic circuit, and it's going to send blood to the body, back to the heart, to the body, back to the heart, to the body, back to the heart. So with these two systems, it goes heart, lungs, heart, body, heart, lungs, heart, body, heart, lungs, heart, body. So that you keep picking up oxygenated blood or oxygen and then distributing it, picking up oxygen, distributing it. And you're doing that all day, every day. And if that thing ever gets disrupted, like you can't breathe, you're not getting oxygen, then you're going to die because your body can't function without it. Or if your heart gets damaged in a heart attack, now your heart can't do its job. Even if you can breathe and you get the oxygen, your heart can't distribute it. So again, you can't live, you can't maintain homeostasis without the system working. So I'm going to skip through a lot of slides, just a lot more detail than you need to know, but you're welcome to look at it. Blood is technically a tissue because it's made up of many similar cells. There are different parts. There's the red blood cells. They are the ones that they look like little tubey floats to me, and they carry oxygen right in the center there. So they're like little floats for oxygen. You also have white blood cells, and they are the ones that protect you. They are immune cells. They are going to gobble up anything bad that gets into your blood, like a virus. And then there's also platelets that we'll talk about. There's also plasma. Like sometimes I've heard of people donating blood plasma, and you're like, what's that? It's basically like plasma is like a word for goo. It's basically like the goo of your blood. It is like the liquid of, okay? So your blood has all these cells. So where does like the wateriness of blood come from? It's the plasma. It's like the liquid. It's mostly water, goo that your blood cells sit in. So red blood cells, they're like the little tube. They carry oxygen right in here. And they can also pick up CO2 on their way. They drop off the good O2 and pick up the CO2 waste and bring it back to the lungs for you to exhale. White blood cells are like these big fat guys that gobble up anything bad in your blood and try to protect you from viruses and bacteria. Platelets are like, see how this looks like this like fibery network, like this stringy thing? That's what platelets are. Good, honey. They, like, if you get a cut, they're going to form this like fibrous network. It's almost like what forms a scab. They're going to like cover it with all these little platelets to heal cuts or wounds. And plasma is like the goo. So if this were your blood, it's 45. If you took your blood and spun it in a centrifuge to separate the parts out, it'd be 45% red blood cells, 1% white blood cells, and 55% plasma. So for some reason, sometimes people just need the plasma. This right here summarizes that. Red blood cells carry oxygen, white blood cells defend against pathogens, platelets form blood clots, and plasma is the liquid portion of the blood that carries all of these things. So just to summarize, what is the point of the circulatory system? It is to circulate everything that you need to get to every one of your cells in your body. So your heart works to pump your blood to deliver oxygen, but also all the nutrients that you absorb from your digestive system, any water, anything else, hormones, any signals, everything that every cell in your body needs is going to be circulated through your blood in your heart. Also, there are there's white blood cells in there to defend you, and platelets to help stop bleeding. So circulatory system circulates everything you need to all your cells, picks up the waste too, and gets rid of that by circulating blood throughout your body.